The wind was screaming across the mountains when Evan closed the wooden door of his small cabin. Night was falling fast, and the snowstorm was getting louder every minute. The radio had already died, the power lines were frozen solid, and the temperature outside had dropped so low that even wolves refused to roam. Evan put another log in the fireplace and rubbed his cold hands. He had survived bad winters before, but this storm felt different, angrier, heavier, almost alive. The kind of night where anything could happen. Then, he heard it. A soft sound. A scratch. Then another. Slow. Careful. Like someone was dragging weak fingers across his front door. Evan froze. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't an animal. It sounded human. He reached for his rifle, walked to the door, and pressed his ear against the wood. The scratching suddenly stopped. Silence followed, deep and terrifying. Just when he thought he imagined it, a tiny voice whispered from the other side. "Human. Please, don't shoot." Evan's blood turned cold. The voice was female, young, soft, and trembling, but it wasn't fully human. There was an echo in the voice, like two tones speaking at once. He unlatched the door slowly. Snow pushed inside the cabin as he opened it, but the wind wasn't what shocked him. It was the girl standing on his doorstep. She was barely standing at all. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly like moonlight trapped under ice. Her eyes were silver and bright, but weak from exhaustion. She wore clothes that were torn and frozen stiff. Long white hair stuck to her face, heavy with ice. She looked young, maybe 20 in human years, and she was shaking violently. Before Evan could speak, she collapsed forward. He caught her just in time, dropping the rifle and pulling her into his arms. Hey, stay awake," he said. Her lips moved. Her voice was a whisper. "Please, don't throw me out." Evan dragged her inside and shut the door, blocking the storm. She was freezing cold, almost like touching a block of ice. He set her near the fire, wrapped blankets around her, and tried to warm her arms, but she pulled back suddenly, as if she expected him to hit her. I can cook, clean. I will bear children. I will serve your home. Just don't give me back to them," she whispered, still shaking. Evan stared at her in shock. "Why would I throw you out? Who's chasing you?" But she didn't answer. She had already passed out. For the next hour, Evan sat beside her, feeding the fire and watching her breathing. Her body temperature was strange. Cold, but steady. Her skin glowed brighter whenever he added more heat. He had seen aliens before on the battlefield, but never like this. Never this fragile. Never this human. Outside, the storm screamed louder. Inside, the girl shivered and curled closer to the fire like a scared child. Then, just before midnight, she woke up. She didn't scream or speak at first. She simply sat up slowly, sniffed the air, and turned her silver eyes toward the windows. Fear appeared on her face, real, deep fear. "They will smell me," she whispered. Evan frowned. "Who? Animals?" She shook her head fast, eyes wide. "No, not animals. My people." Evan grabbed his rifle again. "Why are they after you?" She looked at the fire, her voice breaking, as she answered. "Because I refused the bond. Because I ran away. Because I came to find a human to save my life." Before Evan could ask anything else, she suddenly grabbed his coat sleeve, her fingers cold and desperate. "If they take me back, they will kill you first." Evan's heartbeat stopped for a moment. Then, A deep roar echoed outside the cabin, shaking the windows and blowing snow off the roof. The girl whispered one last thing. "They have found me."
The roar outside was not human, and not from any animal Evan knew. It was low, powerful, and full of hunger. The sound rolled through the forest like thunder. Snow fell from the cabin roof in thick chunks. Evan moved to the window and looked out into the darkness. He couldn't see anything, not even trees, just white fog and swirling snow. But the footsteps were clear. Heavy. Slow. Getting closer. Behind him, the alien girl pulled the blanket around her shoulders, her silver eyes glowing with fear. "They are hunters," she whispered. "Frostborn hunters. They never stop, not until the runaway is dead." Evan turned toward her. "What do they want from you?" She swallowed, her hands shaking. "They want to take me back to the bond hall. I refused the bond. That is a crime for my kind." Evan frowned. "What is this bond?" She looked down at the floor. "It is an arranged breeding. No choice, no freedom. You belong to a male for life. I did not want that." Her voice trembled again. "I heard humans get to choose their partners, their paths, their lives. So I ran away. I crossed the frozen ridges. I followed old war maps. I prayed to find a human home before they found me." Evan felt something shift inside him. She wasn't dangerous. She wasn't trying to trick him. She was simply desperate. "Why come to me?" Evan asked. She looked at him with weak hope. "Humans fight for each other. My people fight only for power. I thought a human would protect me, even if he did not know me." The sounds outside grew louder. Now 2 sets of footsteps. Snow crunched. A deep breath, like a beast sniffing the air, rose from behind the cabin. Evan loaded his rifle. "You need to stay quiet. Stay low. Don't go near the windows." But the girl crawled closer to him, pulling at his sleeve again. "You don't understand," she whispered. "Hunters don't attack quickly. They wait, they study, they find your fear." Evan looked at her carefully. "Then you know how to deal with them." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "My name is Lyra, daughter of the Frostborn matriarch." Evan froze. Matriarch meant leader, which meant, "You're a princess." Lyra flinched. "A prisoner. Nothing more." Outside, a second roar echoed through the woods. Evan's cabin shook. Lyra grabbed his wrist tightly, her cold fingers gripping with surprising strength. "If the hunters see me with you, they will think you claimed me. They will kill you first to break me." Evan did not let go of his rifle. "I'm not letting them take you." Lyra stared at him like she didn't understand the sentence. "Humans choose to protect? Even strangers?" Evan nodded. "Yes, sometimes yes." For a moment, Lyra's eyes softened, but then she sniffed the air and her body tensed. "They're moving, circling," she whispered. "One on the left, one on the back. They are waiting for weakness." "How do you know?" "Frostborn hunters breathe in patterns. I can feel the air change." Suddenly, scratch! A long claw scraped across the wooden back wall of the cabin. Evan aimed the rifle, but Lyra grabbed the barrel and pushed it down. "No," she said, "don't shoot yet. They are testing you. If you fire too early, they will charge." Evan swallowed hard. "How many hunters?" Lyra closed her eyes. "2, maybe 3. If they brought a pack leader, we cannot win. Another sound came, a soft thud on the roof. Snow shifted. Something heavy moved above them. Evan whispered, "They're on the roof?" Lyra nodded. "They can climb anything." The fire crackled. The wind screamed. Footsteps circled the cabin like shadows waiting to strike. Then Lyra leaned closer and whispered one more terrifying truth. "They don't just hunt bodies. They hunt scent. My scent. And your scent now too." Evan tightened the grip on the rifle. "What do we do?" Lyra breathed out slowly. "We prepare. We hide your heat. We mask your smell. And when they attack..." She looked him straight in the eyes, her voice shaking but firm. "We fight together." Outside, the hunters growled again. Inside, the human and the alien girl stood close, cold, afraid, but ready.
The roof creaked again. Evan and Lyra both looked up as snow dust rained down from the ceiling. Something big was crawling across the wooden beams, slow, careful, hunting. Evan raised his rifle, but Lyra put a hand on his arm. "Not yet," she whispered. "Hunters strike when you are scared. They love fear." "I'm not scared," Evan lied. Lyra tilted her head. "I can smell fear, human. You are terrified." Before Evan could answer, a loud thump hit the roof. Then silence. Lyra's silver eyes narrowed. They moved. This is the changing step. It means crash. A large shadow smashed against the left window. Glass cracked. Not fully broken, but close. Clawed fingers pushed through a gap, searching, grabbing, tasting the warm air. Lyra dragged Evan back. They want to reach the heat. They want the smell. Evan's mind was racing. How do we stop them? Lyra pointed at the fire. "Kill the flame." "What? It's freezing." "Kill it," she said sharply. "The fire makes you easy to smell." He grabbed a shovel and quickly scattered the burning logs, smothering the flame. Smoke rose. Heat faded. Cold returned like a living thing. Lyra nodded with relief. "Good. Now they cannot track you easily." The window cracked again. The claws scraped louder. Evan raised his rifle. "Tell me how these things hunt. I need to know." Lyra took a breath. Frostborn hunters follow 3 rules: silence, scent, weakness. If we break their pattern, they become confused. How do we break it? She answered quietly. "With a blood pact." Evan blinked. "A what?" Lyra turned her hand upward, showing a small blue mark on her wrist. The skin was glowing. "This mark chooses who I belong to," she said softly. "If I press it to another skin, our scents blend. Hunters cannot tell who is prey and who is protector." Evan stared, confused and unsure. "Is that safe?" "No," she replied. "It is painful and permanent until I break it." Evan heard footsteps outside, fast, circling, growing impatient. How painful. Lyra looked into his eyes. "You may scream." Evan didn't hesitate. "Do it." Lyra looked shocked, truly shocked. "You would accept a Frostborn pact just to protect me?" Evan shrugged lightly. "You're in my home. I'm not letting them take you." For the first time since she entered the cabin, a small, shaky smile touched Lyra's lips. "Humans are strange, but thank you." She placed her glowing mark against his wrist. Evan felt a sharp burn, white-hot pain shooting up his arm. His breath caught, his muscles locked. It felt like liquid fire crawling through his veins. Lyra quickly held his shoulders. "Breathe, stay with me." He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream. The glowing mark spread across his skin, forming faint ice blue patterns. Then, just as fast as it came, the pain stopped. Lyra pulled her hand away, panting. "It is done. Our scents blend. They cannot smell you as separate now." Evan checked his wrist, stunned. It looks like frost tattoos. Lyra nodded slowly. You are bonded. For now. Before they could say more, the cabin shook violently. The window shattered open. A huge Frostborn hunter slammed one clawed hand through the opening, searching blindly for them. Evan lifted his rifle and fired once. Boom! The creature roared and pulled back, snow spraying everywhere. Lyra grabbed his arm. That was the warning. Now they will attack together. As if her words summoned them, 3 shadows appeared outside. Tall, strong, moving fast. Lyra pulled Evan toward the center of the room. Stay behind me, she whispered. I will use my frost. You use your fire. My what? Your weapon. Your courage. Evan almost laughed. That's all I've got? Courage? Lyra nodded firmly. For humans, it is enough. Another roar shook the cabin. Claws dug into the wooden walls. Shadows circled like wolves ready to kill. Evan took a deep breath. Lyra stood beside him, glowing faintly in the dark. Together, they waited for the attack.
The Frostborn hunters stopped circling. Everything became quiet. Too quiet. Evan tightened his grip on the rifle. Lyra stepped closer, her silver eyes glowing brighter than before. Her skin shimmered with cold light. The air around her grew colder, forming tiny crystals that floated gently upward. They are about to strike, she whispered. How do you know? Lyra did not blink. Hunters fall silent only when they prepared the kill. A heartbeat later, crash! The front door exploded inward, snow blasting into the cabin. A huge Frostborn hunter charged through the opening. He was 7 feet tall, covered in thick white fur, with claws like frozen blades, and glowing blue eyes filled with rage. Evan fired. The bullet hit the creature's shoulder, but the hunter barely flinched. It roared and swung a claw at Evan, fast, deadly. Lyra jumped in front of him. Her hands glowed ice blue. She slammed both palms onto the hunter's chest. Whoosh! A burst of frost exploded outward. The hunter froze mid-attack, ice crawling across its chest and arms. But the creature was strong. It cracked the ice with brute force and pushed forward again. A second hunter climbed through the broken window, teeth bared, ready to leap. Evan fired again, this time at the cabin's lantern. Oil splashed everywhere. Lyra, down! Lyra dropped instantly. Evan angled the rifle and fired a spark. Foom! Flames erupted, lighting the oil trail. Fire surged across the wooden floor, creating a burning line between them and the hunters. The creature shrieked, stumbling backward from the heat. Lyra gasped. Your fire, it hurts them. Well, good, because we're outnumbered. The hunters growled, pacing outside the flames. Their eyes glowed with pure hatred. Then something changed. A third shadow appeared in the doorway, calm, tall, and colder than ice. Lyra stiffened. Her breath stopped. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Mother. The matriarch of the Frostborn stepped into the ruined cabin. She was beautiful and terrifying, tall, regal, her skin carved with glowing frost markings. Her eyes held the same silver shine as Lyra's, but sharper, stronger, ancient. The hunters instantly bowed. Evan raised his rifle, but Lyra pushed it down. No, she will kill you if you aim at her. Let me speak. The matriarch looked around the cabin, at the fire, at the broken walls, at her wounded hunter, and finally at her daughter. Her voice was quiet, but it cracked the air like ice splitting. You bonded with a human. Lyra's hands trembled, but she did not move. Yes. You ran from your duty. Yes. You allowed a human to fight for you. Lyra's eyes softened. She glanced at Evan. He did not own me. He protected me. The matriarch stepped closer, her eyes narrowing at Evan. You would risk death for her. Evan nodded once, steady and firm. Yes.
The silence was heavy. The hunters growled softly behind her, waiting for their queen's command. Lyra stepped forward, voice shaking. "Mother, I choose him." The matriarch stared at her daughter with something mixed, anger, confusion, and something like sorrow. "You choose a human," she said slowly, "over your clan, your future, your throne?" Lyra swallowed hard. "I choose my freedom, and him." The matriarch looked at Evan again. Her eyes softened just a fraction. "Human, if you harm her, I will freeze your world. Understand this." "I won't harm her," Evan replied quietly. "I die before I let anything touch her." The matriarch studied him. Snowflakes slowly stopped falling. The cabin grew silent. Then the matriarch raised her hand, and the hunters lowered their claws. "She has chosen her path," the Frostborn queen said. "A path with you." Lyra gasped. You accept?" "For now," her mother said. "But if you mistreat her, I will return." Evan nodded. "Fair." Lyra's eyes filled with tears, bright, silver, trembling. The matriarch turned, the hunters following her back into the night. As the storm faded, Lyra looked up at Evan, her voice barely a whisper. "Is it truly allowed for a human to choose someone like me?" Evan took her cold hand gently. "With me?" he said softly. "Yes." Lyra leaned against him, eyes closed, a small peaceful smile on her face. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. The storm outside ended, but the story of the human and the Frostborn girl was only beginning.